Okay, so the last video is about how to edit sentence structure. This one is definitely one of the more difficult things to edit, but it's very important that we learn how to edit it in our writing because it makes a big difference in how our writing is understood and also our grades. So the first step in this is a little bit different. We want to check where the sentences break. Where do the sentences currently break in your piece of writing? So for example, let's look at this piece of writing. We see, I don't like to edit my writing. However, my boyfriend likes to edit it for me. He thinks he speaks English very well, but I am not so sure. He took classes for 1 year. He didn't study a lot. So just to make it easier for myself, I sort of mark where the periods are and where the sentences are divided so I can see that as my starting point. Next, I need to count the sentence subjects and verbs and check connecting words. So let's take it from the first sentence first. Here we see, I don't like to edit my writing, so we have one subject and verb. However, my boyfriend likes to edit it for me. So we have two subjects and two verbs, and we do have a connecting word, which is however. But is however punctuated correctly in this sentence? Hopefully, you're able to realize that however is not correctly punctuated in this sentence. It needs to have either a semicolon before and a comma after, or we could change the semicolon to a period, a capital H, and then a comma after. So that helps us fix the sentence structure for the first sentence. Next, he thinks he speaks English very well. Here we have he thinks he speaks. We could add here that he thinks that he speaks English very well, but it's not necessary. So this part of the sentence is actually okay. It's like a noun clause with that removed. Okay, very well. So that one is okay the way it is. But I am not so sure. Here we have but, and we have one subject and verb. Is that correct? Can we start a sentence with but? No, we cannot start a sentence with any connecting word in the fanboys group. So this is not correct. So how do we need to change this sentence? There are several different ways we could do it. For example, we could change from but to however. But we just used however, so that doesn't really make sense. So I think the easiest way to change it for this sentence would be to put a comma and a small b for but. Okay? Let's look at the last sentence. He took classes for 1 year. He didn't study a lot. Here we have he took, one subject verb. He didn't study. Is it like so we have two subjects and two verbs. Can we put a that, an optional that? He took classes for 1 year that he didn't study a lot? No, it doesn't sound right. So this is actually a run-on sentence because it has two subjects and two verbs, no connecting word, and nothing to break it up. There's a lot of different ways that we could fix this sentence. I want to show one that doesn't use, and in this sentence we have, he took classes, he didn't study a lot. So what kind of connecting word do we need? Would it make sense to say he took classes for 1 year because he didn't study a lot? No, it wouldn't make sense. Would it make sense to say he took classes for 1 year and he didn't study a lot? It might be okay. That might be an okay way to fix it. But really, this is a contrast. He took classes, he didn't study. That's a surprise. We don't really want to use again, however, because we have already used it. And we don't really want to use but because we've already used it. So we could use a different connecting word to fix this run-on sentence. And this is the run-on sentence that we're trying to fix. So because we found that there were two subjects and two verbs, it is a run-on. My suggestion to fix it is with although. We could say, although he took classes for 1 year, comma, he didn't study a lot. So in this example, we used a subordinator to join the two clauses together. Now let's try it together with these two sentences. Remember, what we need to do is count how many subjects and how many verbs there are and see what connecting words we have. In the first sentence, we have one subject and verb, I learned. We also have one connecting word, for example. In the second sentence, there's two sentences. The first sentence has one subject verb, the students are taking. The second sentence has one subject verb, they can't ask. There's also one connecting word, which is when. So we underline the two connecting words, for example and when. Let's look at the first sentence, which is for example. Hopefully you know that when we have for example, we need a new subject and verb after it. Or we need to change to a different connecting word if we just want to use these items in a list. So let's look at two different ways that we could fix it. We could put a period after class or a semicolon, then have the connecting word, for example, and then a new subject verb, we studied, vocabulary, main ideas, and summarizing. Or we could change, if we just want to keep those three items in a list, instead of for example, we could use such as. I learned a lot in reading class, comma, such as, which is a preposition, and then put the list of items, vocabulary, main ideas, and summarizing. For the second sentence, when we have when, we need two clauses in the same sentence. So when is like because, it's a subordinator. So when it's at the beginning of the sentence, we need a comma in the middle of the sentence. So this one we could fix by adding a comma and then a small t for they. So hopefully this practice of finding how many subjects and verbs there are, checking the connecting words and seeing if they're used correctly, and checking for fragments and run-ons will help you edit your sentences, your sentence structure. It is one of the harder things to edit, but once you learn how to do it, it will improve your writing a lot. Thank you.